As twilight begins to settle over the Mediterranean, a gentle hush floats across the curved coastline of Monaco, a place that, though small in size, holds a boundless presence in the world's imagination. Nestled between the Alps and the azure waters of the Riviera, this independent principality is less than 1 square mile in area, making it the second smallest country in the world, after the Vatican. Yet, it stands like a jewel between sea and stone, steeped in elegance and shimmering history. Tonight, we will not explore Monaco in the bright dazzle of the midday sun, but in the quieter, more intimate light of nightfall, when the sharp edges of the day soften and the city takes on the glow of something dreamlike. The lamplight pools gently along its polished promenades. Sea breezes drift like silk through its palm-lined walkways. Marble staircases cool beneath velvet skies. Though it may be known for its glitz, casinos, and Grand Prix, Monaco after dark is something else entirely. It's subtle, it's slow, it's still. It's a place where moonlight stretches across still yachts in the harbor, and where the quiet steps of history echo gently through narrow stone lanes. Welcome to Sleepy Journeys, the podcast designed to lull you into a peaceful slumber with soothing stories through time, places, and ideas. Whether you're winding down after a long day or simply looking for a peaceful escape, you're in the right place. My name's Jack, and I'm so happy to have you here with me. Each night on Sleepy Journeys, we set off together on gentle adventures designed to soothe your mind and ease you into rest. You'll find journeys through history, comforting fairy tales, myths and folklore, the wonders of science, fascinating inventions, inspiring famous figures, music history, and even calm explorations around the world. No matter where your curiosity takes you, there's a dreamy Sleepy Journeys show for you. Tonight, we're going to embark on a gentle journey through the magic of Monaco after dark. And just before we fully drift off, if you're enjoying Sleepy Journeys, go ahead and tap follow or subscribe on whatever platform you're joining me on. That way, you won't miss any of our upcoming sleepy adventures. And let me know in the comments where in the world you're listening from and what time it is there. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us. Now, take a deep breath, and let's begin. There is magic in the very structure of this place, in how it came to be. Monaco has existed in some form since ancient times, but it truly began its story in 1297, when a member of the Genoese Grimaldi family disguised himself as a monk to reclaim the fortress perched on the Rock of Monaco. Since that night of cunning and quiet footsteps, the Grimaldi dynasty has remained. And what began as a fortified outpost has grown, carefully, exquisitely, into a sovereign state that balances royal legacy with modern marvels. It is wealthy, one of the richest countries on Earth per capita, yet it holds on to its calm. It is densely populated, yet it offers stillness. It is filled with brilliance, yet it knows how to rest. So tonight, we walk together into this unique space, where the line between land and water is gentle, and where the sky, the stars, and the city quietly shimmer in harmony. As the final traces of daylight begin to melt into the western sky, Monaco finds itself suspended between the golden glow of day and the silvery hush of night. The transition is not sudden, but slow and graceful, as if the light itself has chosen to linger just a while longer over this tiny sliver of coast. Down along Larvotto Beach, the sand still holds the warmth of the day. Pale and pebbled, with flecks of white and amber stone, it stretches in a quiet curve along the sea. The soft lapping of waves, rhythmic and unhurried, becomes the first sound in the lullaby of night. The air cools gently here, moment by moment, like a slow exhale from the sea. The colors above shift from a honeyed peach to a soft lavender, and then into a deepening blue. Each wave reflects this transformation, small mirrors of the sky rippling and folding into the shore. Along the beach's edge, footprints from earlier in the day remain like faint memories pressed into the sand. A couple walks quietly near the water, their voices soft and unhurried, carrying no urgency. Their outlines silhouetted against the water blur as if they too are part of the scenery. Farther out on the horizon, the lights of passing boats begin to twinkle faintly. White and amber, they blink like patient stars, trailing gentle wakes through the velvet water. The horizon begins to fade, not lost, but softened, as sea and sky begin to meet in a blur of cool blues. A small jetty stretches into the sea, its stones damp with the day's waves, and a single gull perches there, resting, silent. It watches the tide roll in with no intention of flight, only stillness. The scent of salt and sun-warmed seaweed lingers in the air, a fragrance both earthy and ocean-born. And in the background, the city behind the beach begins to shift as well. The sun slips behind the hills, casting long, soft shadows across the high-rise balconies and rooftop gardens. The buildings are not tall enough to feel imposing, but just high enough to catch the last of the day's glow. Their windows shimmer like pools of light, reflecting the soft orange-pink of the fading sun. Here, at the edge of Larvotto, Monaco feels suspended, as if time itself has chosen to stretch this moment of transition, to let it breathe. There is no rush, only the quiet presence of sea and stone and sky. Just a short distance from the beach, a promenade begins to wind along the coast. Paved with pale stone and flanked by low walls and planters, it curves gently with the shape of the land. This path, so often filled with footsteps during the day, grows quieter as evening settles in. Along its route, the breeze gathers, like a sigh moving through the palms and over the rooftops. It rustles the leaves, brushes softly against arms and cheeks, and carries the scent of salt and hibiscus. The flowers that bloom in the public gardens nearby release their fragrance more freely now, the cooler air allowing it to drift. Small lanterns flicker to life along the path. Their light is soft amber pools glowing at regular intervals, casting gentle shadows that sway with the plants. The pattern of palm fronds dances faintly along the stones, the motion slow and drowsy. Occasionally, someone passes by, a man in a light blazer, strolling with his hands behind his back, or a woman in soft-soled shoes, holding her sandals in one hand. Their pace matches the rhythm of the place, measured, quiet, calm. No one speaks loudly. The hush of the evening invites soft voices, if any at all. To the left, the sea stretches open, a deepening expanse, catching the lights from the city behind like melted gold trailing across the surface. To the right, buildings begin to glow from within. Through windows and balconies, the soft yellow flicker of home lighting peeks out. Curtains sway gently, revealing the outlines of rooms filled with books, soft chairs, and the quiet clinking of evening tea. Farther along, the path rises slightly toward a viewpoint. From there, the coastline bends like an arm cradling the bay. You can see the curve of the harbor, the anchored boats beginning to shimmer with onboard lights, and the gentle slope of the Rocher, the rock upon which Monaco-Ville rests, waiting for its own quiet unveiling later in the journey. The breeze continues, soothing and endless, threading its way through each space like a gentle hand across your back. It carries with it the hush of nightfall, the softness of evening light, and the first promises of rest. This is how Monaco transitions, with grace. It doesn't close the day like a door, but lets it drift away like fog over the sea. And as the last traces of sunlight disappear entirely, the night steps in without a sound. As the hush of evening settles further over Monaco, a quiet splendor begins to glow in the heart of Monte Carlo. Though known across the world for its glamour, its racing thrills, and its whirl of high society, there is another Monte Carlo, one that only fully appears under moonlight. Here, the city's most elegant spaces whisper. Lights shimmer without glare. Fountains play in softened tones. And the presence of old wealth and deep history rests gently in the polished stone of every surface. At night, the grandeur is no longer dazzling. It is comforting. A different kind of richness emerges, a still velvety opulence that does not strive to be seen, but simply is. The Casino de Monte Carlo sits at the heart of this hush, almost reverent under the stars. Built in the mid-19th century, its ornate facade, inspired by the opulence of the Belle Époque, becomes softer in the evening light. No longer gleaming in the sun, its pale stone glows with a honeyed tone, lit from below by golden lamps that pool gently along its marble steps. Tall columns rise like still sentinels at the entrance. Their carved details, often overlooked by day, become more pronounced now, every flourish of stone catching shadow and depth. Above, the domed towers seem to touch the sky, their glass windows holding quiet reflections of stars and moonlight. Inside, the casino remains open. The soft swish of doors opening and closing, the occasional polite murmur, and the clink of a distant glass are the only sounds that drift outward. The people entering tonight move with slow grace, dressed in evening wear that catches the light without trying. The fountains just outside the grand entrance dance gently in rounded arches that fall like liquid silk into wide basins. The sound of falling water here is constant but never loud. It is a music of continuity, echoing against the steps and polished walkways. Surrounding the square are garden beds and palm trees, perfectly manicured and lightly lit from below. Their shadows stretch across the plaza like fingers, brushing the stone with soft shapes. Benches line the space in quiet arcs, where one might sit and listen to the hum of night, the water, and the occasional soft rustle of someone strolling past. This building, designed by Charles Garnier, the same architect as the Paris Opera, carries the calm grandeur of a temple. And those stories of fortunes gained and lost echo faintly within. The walls tonight only whisper. As you stand nearby, watching the slow choreography of lamps, leaves, and water, the cool air wraps gently around you. Even in the heart of Monte Carlo, sleep finds its way in, curling softly between stone balustrades and lantern-lit steps. Just beyond the casino square, a network of graceful buildings stretches outward in gentle curves and corners, each one dressed in the delicate ornamentation of Belle Époque architecture. Cream-colored facades, curled iron balconies, carved window frames, all held in a softness that only night can fully reveal. As the evening deepens, the lights behind those windows begin to glow. Some flicker with the warmth of candles or low lamps. Others are already dark, curtains drawn, the residents likely resting behind heavy shutters and soft sheets. A cat watches quietly from one balcony, tail tucked, eyes half closed. The railings around it are elegant, wrought iron twisted into patterns of leaves and vines. These balconies, often lined with flower boxes, hold small gardens even in the heart of the city. The scent of lavender, geraniums, and warm citrus leaves wafts into the air, mingling with the ocean breeze. Some flowers bloom at night, opening just as the world begins to sleep, their petals unfolding like slow sighs into the air. Below, the streets are still. A single car passes now and then, its motion slow, its lights low. Pedestrians walk quietly on the polished walkways, their heels clicking softly on the smooth stone, echoes bouncing gently between the buildings. No horns, no music, only the quiet sound of presence. From this vantage point, one begins to feel how Monaco maintains its unusual balance. A place so small, so rich, so filled with life, and yet so calm. Here, in the midst of Monte Carlo, even wealth feels hushed. It is not showy in the dark. It is not golden or loud. It is smooth, pale, gentle. A calm confidence built over centuries. Monaco's modern identity began to crystallize in the 1800s, when the state, in need of revenue, permitted the creation of the casino and the Monte Carlo district. With it came trains, visitors, architecture, and a new aura of refined luxury. But that luxury, at least tonight, has taken off its shoes. It reclines. It listens to the wind. Above one window, a small light blinks, perhaps a candle on a balcony table, left burning as its flame flickers in time with the moving air. A set of wind chimes sounds very faintly somewhere overhead, glass and metal brushing together like whispers. Every detail of these buildings, every ledge, every shutter, every curved lintel, speaks of care, of craft, of a time when beauty was built into every inch. And now, bathed in this soft night, they do not dazzle. They rest. And we do too. Away from the softly glowing facades of Monte Carlo and the hush of the promenade, the quiet heart of Monaco continues to reveal itself. Tucked into its steep cliffs and narrow plateaus are gardens, delicately sculpted, shaped by care and climate. By day, these gardens are admired for their color, their drama, and their Mediterranean charm. But by night, they take on a different mood. Shadows deepen the texture of leaves. Perfume grows bolder as the air cools, and the whisper of wind through flowers becomes a lullaby of its own. It is in these gardens that the principality breathes most deeply, where nature and silence meet under the gaze of the stars. High on the western edge of Monaco, the Jardin Exotique clings to the cliffs with a quiet authority. Known for its extraordinary collection of succulents and rare desert plants, the garden is a sculpted wonder, terraces layered with shapes from faraway places, each one adapting to this coastal height above the sea. At night, the garden does not sleep, but slows. The tall spires of cacti cast elongated shadows across the stone paths, and the squat, rounded forms of barrel cacti glow faintly in the moonlight, their curved edges silvered. Nocturnal blossoms unfurl in response to the cooler air, revealing pale flowers with long petals, reaching outward in silence. The path winds gently through this vertical landscape, each turn revealing a new silhouette against the sky. Some cacti stand like sentinels, straight and tall with arms raised. Others drape, lean, twist, or curl. Underfoot, the gravel crunches quietly, a soft accompaniment to the sounds of distant surf far below. Occasionally, a small lizard skitters between the stones, drawn by the warmth lingering from the day. But mostly, the garden is still. Still and vast, in its own small way, not large in size, but vast in presence. The shapes here are unlike those found in typical Mediterranean gardens. They are sculptural, architectural, timeless. From certain ledges, the view opens wide. You can see the lights of Monaco cascading down toward the sea, shimmering in bands of white and amber. And beyond that, the coastline stretches, dotted with soft blinks from other towns, other lives. But here, above it all, the garden remains calm and apart. The plants themselves seem to hum with silence. Adapted to survive the driest places on Earth, they hold their breath in the dark, conserving their mystery. And in that shared stillness, the visitor slows too. Steps become softer, breaths longer, and the mind begins to quiet, like the petals that will close again by morning. At the opposite end of the Principality, in the quiet neighborhood of Fontvieille, another garden waits. The Princess Grace Rose Garden. Named for Monaco's beloved former princess, it is a soft, circular haven of blossoms and stone paths. By day, it dazzles in full bloom. But by night, it becomes a sanctuary of scent and shadow. The air here is heavier with fragrance. Roses release more of their perfume in the cool of evening, and in the quiet, each breeze carries a complex bouquet, notes of sweetness, earth, and something faintly citrusy, drifting in waves across the walkways. There are hundreds of varieties here, and even in the dark, their petals are soft to the touch, some curled tight, others open wide. The gravel paths wind through low hedges and trellised arches, leading to quiet fountains and benches placed in thoughtful curves. Lamps are spaced far apart here, casting pools of gentle golden light that barely touch the far edges of the garden. Most of the space remains cloaked in shadow, lit only by moonlight and the faint reflection of city lights nearby. In the center of the garden, a marble statue stands, a tribute to Princess Grace, graceful and serene. It's not lit dramatically. Instead, the sculpture emerges subtly from the dark, its features softened, as if made of mist. It watches over the roses with a quiet grace, its presence a reminder of dignity, elegance, and enduring calm. Around the statue, roses climb trellises and fences, their canes tied carefully with ribbons and wires. Even in the darkness, you can sense their color, pale pinks, soft whites, dusky oranges, not by sight but by tone, by memory, by fragrance. The garden speaks not through vision, but through the senses that sharpen in quiet. Crickets begin to chirp in the grass along the borders, their sound rhythmic and comforting. A low fountain bubbles in the distance, hidden behind a hedge, its song faint but steady. And overhead, the stars scatter across the night sky, more visible here, away from the bright lights of central Monaco. The rose garden invites reflection. And tonight, under the hush of velvet skies, it becomes a place where time softens and memory breathes. This is the Monaco often unseen. Not the dazzling party, but the gentle exhale. Not the spectacle, but the soft presence. A place where gardens are not only tended, but treasured. As the gardens retreat into the hush of night and the inland paths grow even quieter, the journey descends gently toward the sea once more, toward the glimmering heart of Monaco's waterfront. Port Hercules, ancient in origin and modern in spirit, stretches out before you like a cradle of light within the dark. Surrounded by hills and the luminous edge of the city, this deep natural harbor has welcomed ships for centuries, from Roman vessels to royal yachts. Now, beneath a calm midnight sky, it becomes a shimmering sanctuary of stillness. As you walk slowly along the promenade bordering the harbor, the world narrows to the soft creak of wooden gangways and the gentle lapping of water against hulls. The surface of the sea lies nearly still, disturbed only by the occasional dip of a bird or the silent passage of a fish near the surface. Overhead, the stars echo this quiet shimmer, scattered like reflections in the ink-black water. The docks stretch out in fingers, each lined with boats and yachts of every shape, from sleek, modern vessels to tall-masted beauties with varnished wood and canvas sails. During the day, this space is full of movement, of greetings and footsteps, of deliveries and preparations. But now, all has stilled. The ropes moor the boats with a quiet sense of security. They groan softly as they stretch and relax with the water's slow motion, and occasionally, a fender bumps gently against the wooden edge of a dock. The sound is soft, like a lull in conversation. You pause by one of the larger vessels. Its hull rises in the dark like a sleeping giant, elegant and smooth. Along its side, portholes glow faintly, revealing the golden edges of curtains, perhaps a book on a bedside table, or the warm gleam of polished teak interiors. Everything here feels preserved in calm, suspended in a breath that never fully exhales. Farther down the dock, a small boat rocks slightly, sending ripples across the reflected lights. The masts of sailboats, silhouetted against the backdrop of the hillside buildings, sway gently with the soft rhythm of the harbor's breath. Above, the occasional flutter of a flag or sail catches the breeze and flaps gently, like a whisper from the wind. No footsteps rush here. The occasional night watchman makes a slow round, his steps muted by the softness of rubber soles and smooth planks. His flashlight remains off, unnecessary in this well-lit world of moonlight and moored elegance. Even the sea seems quieter in this part of the night, its energy low, its movement minimal. It nestles against the boats and the stone walls of the quay like a cat curling into a familiar shape. And you, standing here in the middle of it, feel the pull towards stillness too, a sense that everything is just as it should be, unmoving and unrushed. Moving closer to the boats themselves, your eyes are drawn to the small golden interiors visible through tinted windows and open doors. Each vessel tells a quiet story, not of extravagance or spectacle, but of warmth, retreat, and the private softness of night. In one yacht, A small lamp glows beside a tufted sofa, casting long shadows on the polished floor. A pair of slippers sits neatly beside a low table, and the quiet flicker of a television dances across the walls, muted and blue-toned, as though no one is truly watching. The cabin is a pocket of peace, afloat and unbothered by the world beyond the harbor. Another vessel, more traditional in its shape and finish, shows a cozy galley kitchen. The sink is clean, a mug resting beside it, and behind the frosted glass, a single light remains on, perhaps someone reading in a sleeping berth, the pages turning slowly in rhythm with the boat's gentle sway. The windows of these cabins do not flash or dazzle. Their light is subdued, intentional, designed for comfort. Curtains are drawn in some. In others, plants sit in tiny pots by the sill, casting sleepy silhouettes. The light from these interiors spills out in slender beams, reflecting softly off the water in long golden ribbons. Above the decks, canvas awnings and sail covers shift ever so slightly in the breeze. Some boats have fairy lights strung delicately along their railings, glowing like low constellations wrapped around hulls. The hum of low electronics or air systems creates a faint white noise, mechanical but subdued, almost like a purr. A cat, perhaps a marina stray, winds its way across the dock and hops gracefully onto a nearby deck, disappearing into the shadow of a coiled rope. It seems at home here, sure-footed and familiar with every edge and post. Looking back toward the city from this quiet harbor, the hillside rises in gentle gradients of light, the villas and apartments glowing softly, tiered like candlelit steps above the sea. But here, at the water's edge, the world feels closer, more personal. Every detail slows. Every sound softens. The sea becomes a mirror, not only of light but of stillness. In this resting place of boats and dreams, Monaco lets down its guard. It becomes not a place of wealth or fame, but of warmth and reflection. And in these cabins of light, in the hush between waves, rest is the only sound that matters. Rising gently above the harbor, perched high on the rock of Monaco, lies the oldest and most historic part of the principality, Monaco-Ville. Here, the world narrows into cobbled paths, pastel buildings, and stone staircases that curl and climb through stories both ancient and enduring. The old town feels set apart from time, even in daylight. But under cover of night, it becomes a realm of whispered echoes, soft light, and ageless stillness. The stones underfoot are worn smooth, rounded by centuries of passage. Each wall, each shutter, each arched doorway seems to carry the memory of lives long lived and long faded, resting now beneath gentle moonlight. At the heart of Monaco-Ville, seated on the cliff's edge, stands the Prince's Palace, a structure both regal and reserved, its Renaissance facade softened by the glow of well-placed lanterns. By day, it is a site of ceremony and attention, a place where visitors gather and guards stand in crisp formation. But by night, it returns to stillness, a palace that watches rather than speaks. Built originally in the 13th century, upon the remains of a Genoese fortress, the palace has stood for hundreds of years as a symbol of Grimaldi rule. It was here, in 1297, that François Grimaldi famously disguised himself as a monk to gain entry, a quiet, clever act that began a dynasty. That story, born in the dark of night, feels ever present here beneath the stone arches and watchful towers. Tonight, The changing of guards is long past, and the courtyards lie in silence. The windows of the palace glow faintly in a few places, soft golden rectangles high above, like beacons in the calm. The flags above the towers move gently in the breeze, their fabric rustling quietly, barely audible. The sounds of the square below are few, perhaps the slow steps of a couple walking past, or the faint click of a camera shutter capturing the night. Stone steps lead away from the palace in all directions, some descending steeply toward the ramparts, others winding through narrow alleys lined with shuttered shops and quiet facades. The stone here is pale, and in the moonlight, it takes on a silvery hue, cool to the touch and soothing to the eyes. From the western balcony of the square, the view opens up to the sea. Far below, the harbor glints with the last echoes of light. The wind carries with it the scent of salt, of ivy clinging to stone, and the distant trace of baking bread from an unseen window. Monaco-Ville sleeps lightly, not with complete stillness, but with a gentle awareness, a sense of continued watch. In this oldest corner of the principality, the past is not gone. It simply rests. Beyond the palace and the larger plazas, the alleys of Monaco-Ville narrow into paths that feel more like thoughts than roads, small, winding spaces between homes painted in warm hues of coral, sand, and faded rose. The walls rise close on either side, with green shutters closed gently for the night and wrought iron balconies dotted with pots of herbs and geraniums. Street lamps cast a muted glow, their curved necks holding amber bulbs that wash the stone below in soft light. The patterns of old pavers reflect dully, worn by footsteps and rainfall. Above, the balconies nearly touch across the way, and laundry lines hang between buildings, quiet and unmoving in the still air. As you walk slowly through these paths, you might hear a shutter creak open, then close again. You might hear the soft clatter of dishes being washed, or the murmur of voices through an open window, not loud, never urgent, just the drifting sounds of night winding down. And here, more than anywhere else, are the cats. They stretch across sun-warmed doorsteps, now cooled by evening. They curl into flower pots, leap soundlessly from windowsills, and sit quietly on low walls, watching the night unfold. Some blink lazily as you pass, others turn their heads to follow your steps. None are alarmed. This is their world too, their palace of paths and corners, shared gently with those who move slowly enough to notice. One sits atop a mailbox, its fur brushed with starlight. Another dozes beside a cafe chair, tucked close to the building's wall. There is no chase, no play, only rest, observation, and the still presence of feline calm. The quiet here is profound, but never empty. The old town holds onto its memories softly. You feel them in the aged wood of a doorway, in the iron hinges that creak, in the carved initials along a garden wall. The people who live here do so quietly, in rhythms that respect the stones beneath them. No building is too tall. No corner is too sharp. Everything feels folded inward, like pages of a book pressed close. And when you reach the end of one alley, it opens suddenly onto a small square, perhaps with a single tree at its center, or a fountain gently murmuring beside a stone bench. A cat is likely there too, claiming the center as its own, lying in a perfect circle of repose. Monaco-Ville is small, but its stillness is deep. And under the gentle breath of night, its stone paths become lullabies, stories that walk without words, inviting you to rest with each step. As we near the final part of our journey, the path leads upward once more, rising through Monaco's ancient stone and leafy corridors toward the viewpoints that cradle the stars. Here, the air grows thinner and cooler. The sounds of the harbor soften into a gentle murmur. The glow of the city becomes a twinkling memory below. These cliff-top places, perched high above the sea and gently illuminated by moonlight, offer a moment of quiet elevation. The world narrows and expands at once, the land beneath your feet, the sky above, and the dreamlike stretch of water in between. Nestled along the western edge of the Rock of Monaco, the Saint-Martin Gardens are less formal than the Rose Gardens, less exotic than the Cactus terraces, but perhaps more quietly magical. This cliffside garden wraps along the edge like a ribbon of green, where narrow paths curve past olive trees, pines, and flowering shrubs that sway softly in the night. As you step onto one of the garden's gently winding trails, the scent of crushed pine needles and warm stone rises to meet you. The pathway is uneven in places, with sections of cobblestone that have been worn smooth by centuries of footfall. The railings along the cliff are iron and aged, cool to the touch, and slightly damp with sea mist. There are benches here, tucked beneath fig trees and beside low stone walls, and some of them are still warm from the day's sun. You might pause for a moment to sit, to let the stillness settle further into your shoulders. The sky is wide and deep now, the moon casting gentle shadows beneath the palms. A breeze moves through, rustling the leaves in waves, a conversation in hushes between branches. Here, at midnight, the gardens are empty but not lonely. The energy of the space is soft and watchful. You can imagine monks once pacing these paths, or palace guards pausing to breathe the salt-rich air. The modern world feels far away, even though the lights of Monte Carlo still glimmer just to the east. A small bird, perhaps nocturnal, chirps softly from a branch above. Somewhere in the distance, a church bell marks the hour. The echo drifts across the rooftops and out to sea, a reminder of time passing gently, respectfully, without rush. Looking out from this garden's edge, you see the world below as a reflection, a map of soft glows and winding lines. And beyond that, the sea, stretching endlessly, calm and dark. It feels as if the stars have dipped into the water, their reflections tangled with the harbor lights, making it impossible to tell where the earth ends and the heavens begin. It is here, in this garden, that Monaco reveals its most contemplative side. Not the glamour, not the grandeur, but the grounded peace of stone, tree, and sky, and the ancient comfort of height and stillness. The path continues, curling upward toward the Rocher, the rock itself, the very top of Monaco's historic ridge. Here, the view becomes panoramic, offering a final, breathtaking perspective before the night closes in fully. You arrive at a stone lookout, the wall just high enough to lean against, made of weathered blocks that have seen centuries of wind and sea spray. It is quiet here, the kind of quiet that feels complete. Behind you, the soft outlines of the old town's rooftops fade into shadow. Before you, the vastness of the Mediterranean stretches like a polished sheet of dark glass. From this height, the principality becomes something delicate and luminous, a lacework of roads and rooftops, softly lit boats, and the outlines of palm trees against the terracotta tiles. It feels impossibly small from here, and yet impossibly complete. You can trace its edges with your eyes, from the harbor to the rose gardens, from the casino to the cliffside paths. And in this moment, it all seems to breathe together as one: the sea, the city, the stars. The wind is stronger now, though not cold, just enough to lift your hair, to carry with it the distant smells of the sea and the perfume of sleeping gardens. It moves through the cracks in the stone, through the branches of nearby trees, and into the folds of your clothing like a whispered lullaby. You might close your eyes here, just for a moment, and feel what it means to be above and within at the same time. Above the city, above the waves, above the soft pulse of nighttime life, and yet deeply within a place that holds itself so completely. A country the size of a village, yet rich with memory, wealth, tradition, and calm. It's easy to forget that this little principality is real, that it exists not only in postcards and stories of glamour, but in quiet corners like this one. A sovereign nation, ruled by the Grimaldis for more than 700 years, independent and quietly powerful. It holds its place in the world with beauty, precision, and a sense of enduring presence. Looking one last time over the edge, you might catch the final glint of a yacht light switching off, or the twinkle of a satellite passing overhead. The world is still turning. But here, for a little while longer, it can pause. And as you turn from the edge, making your slow way down the stone path once more, the night follows you like a shawl, soft, dark, and gentle. The night has deepened. The winds have slowed, and Monaco now rests fully in the arms of sleep. As we return to the shoreline, back to the quiet curves of Larvotto Beach, the world seems wrapped in a softer stillness than before. The sand has cooled completely now, its warmth from earlier a fading memory, like the echo of a lullaby. The waves continue their quiet conversation with the land, arriving and departing in slow, even rhythm. Above, the sky stretches wide. Scattered stars twinkle gently. The moon has climbed high now, casting its silver touch across the roofs, the gardens, the harbor waters, and the stone paths we wandered not long ago. We remember the first colors of twilight, the peach and lavender sky slipping into blue. We remember the glow of the lanterns by the promenade, the quiet fountains in Monte Carlo, and the marble steps bathed in moonlight. We remember the scent of roses in Fontvieille and the silhouette of cacti high above the sea. We remember the docks, the boats, the cabins where golden light rested softly on pages, pillows, and polished wood. And we remember the silence of Monaco-Ville, the ancient palace under stars, the curved paths with their curling balconies, the sleepy cats resting in doorways. We remember the gardens above, where pine needles whispered, and the edge of the Rocher, where the stars stretched beyond the sea. All of it, every detail, rests now within us. As the sensation of calm, the presence of quiet, the deep breath of beauty unfolding at night. Monaco, though so small, holds space for both stillness and wonder. Its edges are gentle, its spirit unhurried, and in the way it carries history, elegance, and nature together in such harmony, It reminds us that rest does not come from emptiness, but from care, from balance, from moments of pause that linger just a little longer. So let the sound of the sea stay with you now. Let it move through your breath, slow, steady, sure. Let the hush of gardens and the softness of lamplight wrap around your shoulders like a blanket. And let the glow of moonlit rooftops guide you deeper into rest. You are safe here. You are still, and the journey is complete. Thank you for joining me on tonight's journey. I hope it brought you a little peace, a little wonder, and a little closer to rest. Until next time, sweet dreams.